That'd be a good idea.
That.
OBS is so annoying.
The broadcast software restarted and like
Oh,
erased all my
that's weird.
settings. Yeah.
It's messing with you.
Yeah, it is. There we go.
It's all a dream.
Welcome everyone to Haven of Horror. We are back. We took off last week. Just give ourselves some time to recollect ourselves for this. We are back with the next season, however you want to call it, of Shudder Shuffle. Torgo, my man, how you doing?
You're doing pretty good. It was good to have some time off, but I'm really excited to get back into this season because we picked some interesting movies this time around.
Yeah, I meant to tell you because we just kind of quickly passed our list back and forth and made sure that there was no duplicates like we did the one time. I
Mhm.
don't think I've heard of at least two. I haven't heard of two of the movies on your list. Those
Oh,
would
really?
be completely new. I've never heard of Phenomena or Popcorn.
Yeah. Well, Phenomena that's an Argento movie. I don't know much
Ooh,
about it outside of that.
okay.
Um, I kind of picked it just because we did one of his last time, so I think it would be good to do another one. And then Popcorn kind of looked interesting. I was just scrolling through Shudder and basically just picking whatever looked interesting to me, and that was one of them. So
Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know, Torgo and I just went through and we each picked five movies from Shudder, which is a streaming service, I think through Amazon, but they have like their own website and subscription and all that because everyone's got to have a subscription.
I think it's
But it,
AMC.
or no, yeah, you're right. It's AMC. I always get that mixed up. But it has like a really big collection of horror. And no, this isn't sponsored. If Shudder wants to sponsor a small ass channel like ours, please do. I will
Yeah,
take it in a heartbeat. um, but no, I love Shudder, and this is just a way for us to push our boundaries. Like my list of five films, and I'm not going to go through what each film is on the list. You'll see that at the end when we spin the wheel. But there are movies that I have been meaning to watch, and they are on Shudder, so we can now watch them. If you didn't catch the idea from the thumbnail, the title, anything else, tonight is Phantasm from 1979, starring a bunch of people you've probably never heard of.
yeah. Starring some guy.
And directed, this was the thing that was interesting to me, is it's directed by Don Coscarelli, who also
Yeah.
directed Bubba Hotep.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that
And
was the same director.
I didn't either until I looked him up on Letterboxd.
Huh.
He also did John Dies at the End and The Beastmaster and the sequels to this movie and a couple
Well,
other
I'm
things.
gonna I'm gonna have to check out more of his movies because I've heard of Bubba Hotep and John Dies at the End. Like both
Have we
are like
watched Bubba Hotep?
I've still never seen it. I know Bruce Campbell's in it, so I gotta watch it, but I
Oh,
haven't seen it
okay.
yet.
Shit, I thought
But
you'd watched it.
both of those movies look super like out there and weird, which is
Yeah.
pretty much in line with the movie we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, and I've never seen The Beastmaster, but I believe I saw like a TV show based on it as a kid.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of Beastmaster, but
Um,
I've never seen it.
so Torgo, tell us about Phantasm.
Well, Phantasm is about this kid who He has an older brother who's in town, and he's afraid that his older brother is going to leave because I guess their parents had recently just passed away, so he's kind of afraid of losing people who are close to him. But the inciting incident of the movies, I think, like maybe it's like the friend of the older brother. I don't remember what relation the guy that dies at the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He dies, and then the kid notices some weird stuff happening with the people at the funeral home, and there's this very creepy tall man who's able to pick up a casket all by himself. And there's just like an overall sense of like eeriness and creepiness going on there that he wants to investigate. And yeah, that's basically like the main premise.
Yeah. So I guess one thing I do want to correct myself on is a lot of people have probably, if you're into the, I would say probably more into the cult film the genre, like these are, because this is clearly a cult classic.
Yeah,
But the
I
tall
did.
man is played by Angus Scrim, who
Mm-hmm.
is in another movie on our list, Chopping Mall. So
Oh,
I will be
okay.
keeping an eye out for
That's
him when we
a
get to that.
coincidence. I had no idea.
I didn't
Yeah,
either.
I had definitely like heard of this movie, or I'd heard the name before, and I'd seen like I'd seen like the pictures of the tall man before, but I didn't really know anything about it until I watched it.
Yeah. So our summary was kind of vague just because I feel like this movie, like this is a complete movie, but all the pieces aren't there yet, right? Like this is one of those where I think the director had an idea of like we'll flesh this out in future films if we get one. But like we don't find out a whole lot about the tall man, right? Just that
We
like he's
don't,
weird.
but I think that kind of adds to the horror because this kind of goes by the old rules of like less is more, and like I think you learn a little bit more about him and like what his whole deal is near the end, but it's still vague enough where you can kind of uh, fill in the blanks in your head, and it's still creepy. It's kind of like the first Alien movie before they explained everything in the sequels
Yeah, and then the prequels.
and Prometheus and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how did you feel while you were watching this?
Yeah, so there's a lot I like about this movie. I do like this movie overall, but I don't love it.
Okay.
And I honestly kind of was a little bit bored for most of it. Um, I think in
Interesting.
terms of like the concept of it and like the production design and like the sense of like atmosphere to it, and like the music, the score is really good in this movie. Although I do think that they repeat the main theme a little a little too much, and it kind of gets stuck in your head. Um, so a lot of the technical aspects of this movie I appreciate. I kind of don't really care about anything else. Um,
So
I
you think the
didn't.
script needed some work?
I think it needed a little bit more work. I didn't care really about most of the characters. Um, for a 89-minute movie, honestly, this movie kind of started to drag a little bit near the end. I don't know if that's just me. Um, I don't want to sound too negative because I did like it. I just didn't. I've got issues with it.
No, that's completely fair. My main takeaway is this doesn't feel like a 70s movie. This, like, I know it's
Oh yeah,
79, so it's kind of, on that border,
it's on
but
the
this
cusp.
feels right at home in like the 80s or 90s. Like, a lot of the 70s horror films I've seen because they were so low budget were very grounded in like, Halloween, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, um,
Yeah,
Exorcist, which is a little more fantastical, but really it's just a haunted house movie, right?
yeah.
This is fucking like alternate dimensions and flying spheres,
Yeah.
and it really sets the tone for what horror was going to become in the next decade, which I thought was interesting.
Hmm.
I don't think I agree with the characters. I really liked the main guy, the main kid, and his brother. However, I will one thing I will agree with you on criticism wise with the script is I feel like we dropped the brother wants to leave, like just kind of throw his brother off to
Yeah.
someone else and leave. As soon as like shit hits the fan, we just never mention that again. And it's not really a resolved plot point, it's just a plot point.
Well, they kind of like. I don't want to talk about the ending too much already, but it kind of like by the end, it kind of feels like that whole thing is thrown away because
Yeah.
that didn't really matter because it's all a dream.
Except it's not, because we've got 4 more of these to make.
Oh, that's right. There are sequels.
There are 5 total.
Okay.
And we'll get into that here in a bit. The tall, and I think part of what makes this movie, and I think you could say this for a lot of horror films around this time. Not that I'm like an expert or anything, but it is the villain that has kind of kept this movie alive, right? When people talk about Phantasm, they talk about the tall man.
Yeah.
And I think it's well deserved. Angus Scrimm is amazing in this.
He has such a menacing presence.
Yeah, and like
he
there's
plays
not
his
a lot
character
to that
super well.
character. It's all that actor giving it that
Yeah.
that presence and that terrifying feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
But the kind of to the point you were just making about this movie feeling, I kind of immediately got the sense that this was an 80s movie. I forgot. I think at a certain point watching it, I forgot that it was 79. Like, it does have more of that 80s feel. I think probably I get that most from the score because it's very synth heavy. And you'd see a lot of that in horror movies during the 80s.
yeah, I can see that, but also the set design, because a lot, like I mentioned, a lot of horror in the 70s was like they're just in a house or they're just in a mall, and
Mm-hmm.
like this has like that big white room. There's that brief
Yeah.
scene where he's like going into another dimension, and it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
like this was on another. From what I have seen, this movie was on another level.
Yeah, no, like, I think the director was very much thinking of, he was ahead of his time of what I guess horror would become in the following decade.
It's very
With like,
comic booky, right? Like this would be a
yeah,
great 6-issue mini.
yeah, no, yeah, it does feel very comic booky, and yeah, just like I admire how creative this movie is, like
Mhm.
the spheres that like suck your blood out, like that whole thing is really cool.
It's Jigsaw before Jigsaw.
Yeah. No, it's just like it's a super imaginative film, and I respect it on that level for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean I feel like, so I'm glad that we get to talk about this, just because I did want to gush over how creative it is. But plot wise, like I've seen this twice, and I still don't know if I fully understand what's going on. Because
Me
it's
neither.
kind of a very surrealist
Yeah.
movie. So I'm not gonna have a lot to say on the plot, but I love all the sets. Like I think they all look really good. Did any
Yeah.
sets kind of look bad to you or outdated?
Sorry, could you repeat that? I couldn't really hear what the
Yeah,
question was.
I just realized that my mic was like way back here, the one that I'm talking to you on. Did any
Yeah.
of the sets feel kind of outdated or bad to you?
No, I really like, especially the funeral home set. It's got like this
It's
kind of
so good.
otherworldly. Yeah, I think that's the standout set of the movie. Like, the other locations they're fine, but I think that's really where the production design in the movie shines, and it's got like this otherworldly, like sci-fi quality to it. Um, and nothing. Nothing really stood out to me as outdated. Um, I mean, you can tell this is a lower budget film, but nothing was like poorly aged, in my opinion.
Um, so to come in on what you mentioned before, so the person killed at the beginning is friends with Jody and Reggie, who are the two main
That's what I
characters.
thought. I couldn't tell if that was another brother or I kind of just assumed they were friends.
And like the tall man can shapeshift. Like that's
Yeah,
cool.
he
Why the fuck not?
shapeshifts. He shapeshifts into a hot lady that, and he's just like has sex with these guys to lure them
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, that's crazy though, right? Like
Yeah,
um and then yeah, that's kind of how the plot gets started is the tall man in as a shapeshifts tries to seduce the main character's older brother and
yeah.
everything starts to go crazy. Do you feel like this movie maybe needed more time as well? Like there are so many high concepts, especially for the
Probably.
time.
I did hear that like the initial cut of this movie was a little bit longer, and they had to cut some stuff down.
Interesting.
So maybe if they had left a little bit of that in, that could have benefited. But like on paper, like I feel like I should like these characters and like the story that the movie's trying to tell. I don't know what it is about it, if it's like the writing or the acting, like something's not exactly clicking with me with
Do you,
the overall story.
do you think it might come to you more on a second viewing?
Maybe.
Okay.
I definitely I think it's a movie I'd like to watch again because like I didn't have a bad time with it, even though I have a lot of complaints with it, just because I respect it on a technical level and like I admire how creative it is. So it's definitely a movie I'd be willing to give another chance sometime in the future.
And we should mention because I asked about the effects. The Phantasm on Shudder is a remastered version, so I'm sure they've touched some of
Yeah.
that stuff up. I
Remastered by Bad Robot of all people.
Well, so I was looking on Letterboxd, and one of the reviews I saw mentioned that JJ loves this movie.
Yeah, I can understand that based on some of his other
And
filmography, like Super 8.
they were like, JJ should remake this, and I went, oh God, no,
No.
please, please, no.
I mean, it's great that he remastered it. That's cool. Don't
It's
remake it.
fine, don't do it. Well, but it's because it's just like, I'm not anti remake. Like I like a lot of remakes. There are some remakes that I would say are on par, if not are slightly on the same level, if not just under the original.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think you could do this now. This
No.
is everything coming together in just the right time at the right place with the right people, and it works.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating thing to study within the time it came out because like we were just talking about, it feels like an 80s horror movie and just like that kind of informing what comes later. Like I don't think it would be a very different movie if you were to remake it now, and I don't think it would have the same like level of charm or just like be as interesting.
Yeah, and like it wouldn't be as impactful, right? Like all this stuff that's in this movie that, in my opinion, makes it very groundbreaking for its time. That's just movies now.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Something that did just click with me though is I do get why J.J. Abrams likes this movie because he's like very focused on that kind of mystery box way of storytelling,
mhm.
and a lot of what's in this movie is I think effective because it is shrouded in mystery. Like the tall man is scary because you don't know anything about him. He's like this otherworldly figure that you can't explain. And I think, a lot of the scariest things in fiction are characters that are things that are not explained, that the audience needs to be left to interpret on their own.
And that's why a Joker movie was a dumb idea. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a different story.
So another thing I do want to take just some time to mention is I don't know if you have this, but for me, and as I've said before, I don't know if on camera, but when we're just talking in private, slashers are my go-to. Like they're my comfort food. As weird as that sounds, right? Or comfort movie, as weird as it sounds. And a slasher is only as good as his weapon.
Yeah.
The weapons in this are brilliant, but they shouldn't be, right? Like on paper, a flying orb is dumb.
Yeah, you're like it's this flying orb that like it's got like spikes on it and it like sucks people's brains out. That sounds so weird, but this movie makes it work.
It does, and the effects look really good. Like I would argue this looks better than. I mean, I'm just going to throw this out there because this is my example, my go-to example for like gore. The gore in this looks as good, if not better, than Dawn of the Dead, which came out a year before this.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to compare because that movie has significantly more gore, and like gore is more of the focus of the horror in that movie, I'd say. But what little gore is in this movie, yeah, I think it's pretty solid.
This is a restrained movie too. Like it's
Yeah,
never gratuitous.
yeah,
Maybe
no,
that first scene gets a little close to it, but never like
yeah, it's not as sleazy as that first scene.
yeah, which is weird, right? Like because you kind of set it up to be this like sleazy movie, and then it's not that. Like it's a high concept. I don't know if I'm using this term correctly, but like it's kind of a high concept horror film.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I definitely think it's about more like it's about death, like it's trying to like have themes and stuff like that.
Well, it's about death. It wants to be about family, and that's what's so powerful
That's
about
what's
it.
so powerful about
Red Letter Media has ruined us, folks.
yeah.
Yeah. How did you feel? So obviously, kid actors are notoriously awful. How did you feel about the kid
Yeah.
actor?
um I didn't think he was like awful in this movie. I thought he did about as good as a kid actor could be. I thought he was a lot better than the older brother. I don't think he's a very good actor.
Yeah, and I don't know if you have this, but like both times that I've watched this, and it came back to me as I was rewatching it. Both times I've completely missed when the brother dies. I don't realize it until the
Yeah.
scene after when they're talking about he's dead. I wonder if that's some of the stuff that they cut.
Well, I think that's the main twist is that they say that like he died in a car accident a long time ago, so you don't actually see that. I don't think
Oh, okay. Yeah, see,
unless he dies before that scene, and I just don't remember. I'm honestly gonna have to watch this movie again at
but
some
see,
point.
so here's the thing, because I'm also looking at the Wikipedia to make sure that I'm remembering everything I wanted to bring up. I think all of that is a lie.
Okay.
I
Yeah, you
think
think that's the dream part?
I think no. So I think Reggie is telling him that he had a nightmare
Okay.
and that Jody died in a car crash to like keep him safe. Because immediately after that, we get the jump scare ending
Yeah.
of the Tall Man, and then they made 4 more movies. So this
That's
couldn't
right.
be a dream.
I
This whole
guess
movie couldn't be a dream.
I guess we'd have to watch the sequels to see how they continue on from that.
I think that I might do that this Halloween. To be honest with you, they're all on Shudder.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. How many are there?
5 total.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably watch them at some point.
Yeah. So actually, I was going to ask you towards the end of, did this interest you enough to see the sequels to see if we get any of these answers?
Yeah, weirdly enough, since I'm not like super big on this movie, like I liked it, but I didn't love it. I still am kind of interested in checking out the sequels just for the sheer creativity of this movie.
Yeah, for sure. Now I do know that the fifth one is a decades later sequel.
Oh
Um,
no.
that kind of pick. It's not like Halloween where it's like we're just gonna do the first one again, but like they finally got it to get released, but it's a different
Oh,
director.
okay.
So I don't know how good that one is. I mean, I don't know how good any of the sequels are, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would be. That might be a fun like. Once we've watched them, I'll do like an overview video, follow up on this, see how we feel.
Oh yeah, no, I'd love to do that.
Well, Torgo, I think I've kind of exhausted everything I wanted to say about this movie. Um,
Same here.
it's just if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's on Shudder. This is one of the most creative horror films of its decade, in my opinion. It's not perfect. I do agree the script needed a little more tuning, maybe a lot longer runtime, a little bit. Um, I think for my rating, I'm gonna have to give it a 4. I had a lot of fun with this.
I'll give it a 3. Just because
Bastard.
I don't think just because I don't think I liked it as much as you did, but I definitely appreciate it on a lot of levels.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so now for the everyone's favorite part of Shutter Shuffle,
We're gonna spin the wheel.
maybe if I can find it.
Oh no.
What?
We'll do rock paper scissors instead.
Why is it on Wikipedia? I don't understand.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, I don't know. My OBS is like being stupid.
Oh, weird.
There we go. It's gonna have. All right, I've taken Phantasm off. So let's see what we get.
Okay.
Oh shit! Color out of space. Maybe
Ooh,
that's the you did pick. There's not another one, right? That is the Nick Cage one.
that's the Nick Cage one. Yeah. So this will
Okay.
be. I think this will be a rewatch for both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get the Day Ghost to join us
If
for
he's
that one.
available. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is one I just saw that was on Shudder. I was like, oh, I've only seen it one time, so I'll just put it on.
Yeah, I've seen it twice, but it didn't stick with me other than Nick Cage.
Yeah, fair enough.
I liked it from what I
I
remember,
remember
but
liking it. I'm interested to revisit it though to see if anything changed.
yeah.
So
Well, that is going to be it for this episode of Shudder Shuffle. We will be back soon. I don't want to promise next Friday, just in case something comes up with with either one of us. Like I said in other videos, we're just kind of
yeah.
taking it casually, having fun. When we have time, we do the thing, and
And then we got other stuff we want to do besides Shutter Shuffle as well.
we do.
So
We will talk at you guys next time, and thanks for hanging out.